Meeting is now called to order. Could you kindly stand? Those of you who are joining us on Zoom, we'll be so happy if you stand and join us as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a wonderful opportunity now to have another Rotary meeting this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. And coming now to lead us through our agenda will be none other than our Rotarian Anita, who will come now and navigate us through this session. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon to all, and welcome again. Coming now just to do the Rotary Grace and Loyal Toast is Rotarian Monique.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Rotary prayer, all heads bowed. Our Father, we thank thee for the opportunity to develop acquaintance with service to our community and to the world. We pray that this meeting will serve to strengthen Rotarian in its purpose and us in thy service. Amen. Please remain standing for the Rotary toast. To the King of the Commonwealth of the country. Raise your glass.
To the King and Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Off the Bahamas. Sorry, I have gas. So I had to pull on the side.
Somebody's making them. And you may be seated those that are in the room. And we now call on the Sergeant of Arms, Rotarian Wayne, to welcome us and introduce visiting Rotarians and non-Rotarian guests.
Thank you so much, Rotarian Anita. I think Rotarian Monique need to get a fine, Madam President. We have, I mean, it's good to make a mistake now and then, but not in the presence of the British High Chief. British High Chief. No, yes. No, yeah, so, but anyway, we move all along and good humor, good light humor, I'm quite sure Commissioner doesn't mind as well. But again, welcome to all. What a wonderful opportunity to come together as servants of the people. And that's what Rotary is all about. Give us an opportunity to serve our fellow man. And what a pleasure it is. No greater gift, no greater calling or higher calling can be than to serve one's fellow man. So I want you to give yourself a round of applause for being part of the service industry throughout the Bahamas. Indeed, we are so happy to be here with like-minded individuals, and we thank God for each and every one of you in the place. And we know Madam President will bring us up to date on all of the activities that transpired over the weekend. She said she is not only one piece here, she is in many pieces after such a wonderful weekend. But do we have any visiting Rotarians with us? We'd like to acknowledge all of our visitors. Any visiting Rotarians with us on the call, in person, visiting Rotarians?
Good afternoon, President Chantal, fellow Rotarians and guests. Charlene Kearney, Rotary Club of New Providence. Always a pleasure to be with you all.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Charlene. And what a pleasure it is to have you. We're indeed happy that you're able to join us and chime in at this time. Is there anyone else?
Good afternoon, everyone. Fabian is the guest of Shelby Bryce.
Okay, so that's a guest. We have a guest of Shelby. Okay, good. My buddy Shelby, thank you so much for joining us, and we're happy to have you here. We're happy to have you join us again. Anyone else? Do we have any visitors in the house or any visitors online?
Good afternoon. My name is Deidre Williams-Kemp, and I'm a guest of Monique.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Deidre. Really, we're certainly happy to have you here, and please feel free at home, that you are at home and among our fellow Rotarians. Yes. Shafar, thank you so much. We don't regard you as no visitor no more, Shafar. You're one of us. You're one of us. I think you've already qualified yourself. But we're happy to have you anyway. And I have my guest here. Could you stand and introduce yourself, the lovely lady over there?
Yes, Jessica Miller. Wayne Miller.
Thank you so much. We're happy to have you. It's Jessica Lynn. Happy to have the wonderful and beautiful Jessica Lynn in the house. Okay, if there be no one else, Madam Chair, we want to just welcome everybody, everyone in their rightful places, and feel free to enjoy our meeting. I'm looking forward to it. We expect it to be a very good, lively, provocative meeting, and it's going to be addressed. We're going to be addressed by none other than the UK's High Commissioner here in the Bahamas. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we'll have the remarks and announcements by our president, President Chantal, and this will be followed by the secretary's update, Secretary Talia.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I see it looks like some persons are still recovering from the holiday, even though it's more than a week ago, but yeah, they're slowly getting in. But thank you so much for tuning in, also coming out in person today. Just a few things that I want to remind you of. So, we've been having our fundraiser where we've been selling the Switcherific drinks, and we get 50% of the sales. So this is the last month that we'll be doing it. So I need to get your orders in by tomorrow, please. Please, this is the last one. So I'd like for all of you to participate who haven't done so yet. Darren, yeah, you get a case. Thank you. What about you? Sam, case? Sounds good. It's only 12. Only 12 in the case. Well, I will send you the information. No problem. No problem. All right. So the drinks, they come in 4 different flavors, and they're sold for $4. We do deliver it to you. And Rotary gets to keep $2 from it. So please do purchase so that we can get some funds to put into our account to continue to do good. On Saturday, November 5th, we do have the weather webinar that is coming up. Hopefully you've seen my emails or you've seen the information in the chat. If we do have places available for maybe I think about 5 persons if you're interested in attending in person. If not, there is this link so that you can log in. Please do log in. We do have a speaker coming in. He's from Canada. We're talking about water spouts, and that is his area of expertise. He's one of the top persons for this. So please do tune in or actually come out with us. The district governor will be visiting on the 15th of November, excuse me. The yacht club unfortunately will not be available during that time. So we will have to relocate to Margaritaville. I will be sending notice to everyone via email and via WhatsApp. Parking, there is a parking fee of $5 to park there. So per hour. And then I think the $1 thereafter, but hopefully, like I said, we should be done in an hour, but I'll be sending out the emails because they would like for us to let them know in advance, if we are going to be having a meal, etc., so that they can have it all set up for us. Because 1 o'clock will be their busy time of day. All right, so look out for that email and also the information in the WhatsApp. And of course, we're still asking persons if you're able to, if you can make a donation to assist with Florida's recovery. I'll send out the link again so that, if you are in a position to assist, they do need the help because they're still in the recovery stage. Okay, so thank you very much. And back over to, well, not back over to you, but the Talia now. Talia?
Hello, good afternoon, my fellow Rotarians. Today for the secretary update, I would like to inform everyone that the White Ribbon Campaign is celebrated during the month of November. So should anyone be interested in purchasing ribbons or shirts for that cause, please contact Rotarian Dana. She will have those ready and available for you. And also we will be having our social next week, Tuesday. So that would be starting at 6:30 and it would be at Green Parrot. We're gonna have a game night, so we're gonna have dominoes, Scrabble, backgammon, and much more prizes and surprises. So please come out if you can. And next week, Saturday, November 12th, is our joint initiative with the Kiwanis. It will be a health fair held at Goodman's Bay. I'll get that flyer out today. And Rotary, we will be responsible for food and volunteers. So the shift would be from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. and then the second shift will start 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if anyone is able to assist for 2 hours or possibly 4 hours on Saturday, November 12th, can you please reach out to me? And if we have anyone who's able to donate towards the food, you can also reach out to me as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Chantel, and also thank you, Secretary Falia. And I just wanted to, the next on the order of the meeting is an update from Vision Health Expo. And it was a wonderful, wonderful weekend. This past weekend, we took over 20 persons from New Providence into Cat Island. And we were able to see during that, on Saturday, we were able to screen over 103 patients or children. Out of those 103, 31 at present needs glasses, and we had to refer a few of them. I think 4 or 5 of them will be coming into Nassau for further evaluation. But our team, it was excellent. I just really want to take this time out to thank everybody that was a part of this event. We partnered this time with the Department of Health, the nurses that were on the ground in Cat Island. They actually did the health aspect of the expo. They were able to do blood screenings, cholesterol, and glucose screenings. I have to get their results in. I don't have that as yet, but once I have the updates, I will let you know how many people came through with them. But we were able to, all of our partners, our old partners were on board. So we are thankful for Rhonda's Eye Alliance that provided the frames, again, donated all the frames for the event. We had the Bahamas Optometric Association, Dr. Jackson, that was representing that assisted in eye evaluations. We had MJB Optical that was there helping with the selection of the frames. We had, like I said, we had everyone that was the satellite club. They were on board there. They did the groundwork. They participated in the event. We had those here in Rotary Club of Nassau that weren't able to attend, but they also were very active in the groundworks, being able to provide their service wherever they could. So it took all of us, even friends, prospective members that were there, it took all of us to make a successful expo. So further, I guess what we're going to do is probably provide pictures and photos. We put it in an album and we'll be able to share with the entire club, because besides work, we did get to have a little bit of fun. So in between all the work, there was playtime, and we also was able to worship. So we were able to attend the church service on Sunday to climax the first part of the event. Because like we said, the event doesn't end there. We still have to, at some point in time, once the frames are done, we still have to return and be able to distribute. So part 2 will be coming. So those that missed part 1, you're welcome to join us in part 2. And looking at those that are here, I don't know how many are live. I thought we brought everybody back from Cat Island, but I think maybe some went back, returned, so. We're still recovering. But next on the agenda is membership update by Rotarian Keno. And this will be followed by RPIC Sheila, who will be introducing our guest speaker. As you probably realize, I'm a new person, so all of those, I'm not too sure what they stand for, but yes. So. I can't remember either. Okay.
Okay, good. Well, of course, you know this isn't Gino, right? But I'll pitch in for Gino. Yes, the membership update. We have a Rotary anniversary that's coming. John Lewis, 31 years, November the 1st today. John Lewis, 31 years. Let's give him a round of applause. 31 years in Rotary, 31 years of humanitarian service. And you heard the kind of humanitarian service that we offer and that was given to the children of Cat Island by Rotarian Anita and our President Chantel. What an awesome opportunity to give back. And so 31 years is a very long time to provide that kind of service. And then we have a birthday, P.E. Darren. Darren is going to have his birthday celebrated on November the 5th. November the 5th, Darren. He's in president, he's in Poison.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. My birthday, come again. My birthday, come again. My birthday, come again. How old am I now? My birthday, come again. My birthday, come again. My birthday, come again. So I can party all night. I know.
Thank you so much. And that is the birthday celebration. Of course, we want you to always make contact with your buddy. And a buddy list was just sent out recently, up-to-date buddy list. So check with the buddy list. The buddy list is, the purpose of the buddy list is really to make sure we connect with each other and to encourage each other to come out to meetings and to social and so forth. Because remember now, Rotary is about networking and networking with each other. You can't network by yourself. All right. So we've identified someone for you to network with. And now coming now to introduce our speaker is the lady that has all the titles behind her name, some of which she can't remember. Not other than Rotarian Sheila. Please give your hand, give her a round of applause.
And it's Regional Rotary Public Image Coordinator, except it's past. So it's got an extra P at the front. Never mind, you won't remember anyway. I've told you this about 500 million times. Pretty much. Okay. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Tom Hartley, who has been the UK's High Commissioner to the Bahamas since August 2022. Before this appointment, he was the Deputy High Commissioner in Ghana. After studying economics at the University of Cambridge, Tom moved to London, where he worked for the Ministry of Defence and then the Home Office, during which time he was private secretary to two successive national security ministers, Admiral Lord West and Baroness Neville Jones. Tom joined the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in 2012 on a multilateral portfolio before being posted to Lebanon during the Syrian refugee crisis, and then to Ghana to lead one of the UK's busiest missions in Africa. Please join me in welcoming High Commissioner Tom Hartley to discuss Remembrance Sunday.
Thank you all very much, Madam President, committee, Senator, neighbours, and friends. Thank you. Let me congratulate you all on an incredibly efficiently run meeting so far. I only wish my government's meetings could be as efficiently run as this. We would still be waiting for people to arrive if it was the UK. So well done. And let me also put the previous speaker at ease when it comes to protocol and for the loyal toast as well. Her Majesty the Queen once said, protocol is what she says it is. And so if we just invented a new monarch for the King of the Commonwealth, then that's absolutely fine. it's all good fun, and it's kind of nice to be around a community that is engaging and warm and welcoming. So thank you very much. And I have to admit, this is a bit nerve-wracking for me. As accustomed to public speaking as I've become, this is my first Rotary event ever. Brilliant. So it is. It's very exciting, but it's very exciting to be here. And you have already lived up to your reputation when it comes to the charitable aims and to the wide community that you are supposed to be. But it's nerve-wracking because I've only been in the Bahamas barely 10 or 11 weeks now. And to come and speak to you about remembrance, which is, I'm sure, something you know at least as well, if not better than I do globally, but certainly you'll know better about the Bahamas and remembrance. You'll know far more than me, but nonetheless, I will do my best because it's an issue that I care personally and professionally a lot about. As was said just before, I started my career in the Ministry of Defence. And then went to go and work for Admiral Lord West, who was a First Sea Lord, head of our Navy, before he went on to become our National Security Minister. And in both those jobs, Remembrance Day on the 11th of November and Remembrance Sunday are hugely important events in the Ministry of Defence and for Admiral Lord West. And through them, I began to research my own family's history. As part of it, my grandfather, like many people's parents, never spoke about his role in the war, but nonetheless, he, like many others, served admirably. So it's something I wanted to come and talk about today, just in time. And I'm very pleased that so many of you are wearing poppies. I brought the High Commission's donation box, hoping I might make a few pennies, but I feel like someone's already been here 20 minutes before I did. So, so thank you for remembering, which is the point, by wearing your poppy as well. For those who have it on a different suit, then there's spare ones at the front gate. Let me after giving myself much an intro, let me start with a poem. For the fallen. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. It's a very famous poem by Lawrence Binyon, which has come to become almost the exclamation of Remembrance Day, which is 11th November every year. It's a day that the world, particularly the Commonwealth countries, which makes up nearly a third of the world, remembers the men and women who served and who continue to serve all our countries during the First and Second World War, and have committed themselves through conflict and through peace to protecting our freedom. It started, it was first observed in 1919 when King George wanted to mark Armistice Day, as it was, the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. He committed us to 2 minutes silence. And other than in 1939, when it became a remembrance event rather than a celebration, it has been remembered every year since across the Commonwealth. And in places like the USA, it has become Veterans Day and the like. 9 million soldiers and 21 million more were wounded, and 10 million civilians were killed during World War I. France and Germany committed 80% of their male population between the ages of 15 and 49 into battle. For the Second World War, 15 million soldiers died, 25 million more were wounded, and 45 million civilians were killed. 80% of those came from just four countries, Russia, China, Poland, and Germany. Huge numbers. The poppy, as I know you're all wearing, has become the most recognized symbol for Remembrance Day. The red poppy, and in some countries indeed it's a white poppy for peace, and was associated with World War I memorials. after the scores of poppies that were planted in the battlefields of Belgium and northern France. In 1921, the British Legion, which then became the Royal British Legion, and for the Bahamas, the Royal Canadian Legion, one of many branches around the world, started selling poppies in order to raise money for veterans. And again, it was a Canadian soldier, Dr. John McCrae, who wrote this. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place and in the sky, the lark still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you with failing hands we throw. The torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. The Bahamas played a key role during the Second World War, in particular, as an anti-submarine base. The Germans and Italians had parked U-boats near here to attack convoys, civilian convoys that were going backwards and forwards, taking food and fuel. In particular, Trinidad oil field was the biggest oil field in the empire at the time, and weapons from the US across to the UK. It relied on 4 oil tankers a day arriving to the UK to keep the war going. And these Germans and Italian U-boats they hid in the waters around Long Island, in particular. They were quite successful. They sunk over 130 Allied ships, throwing more than 6,000 sailors into the water, and over 300 of whom washed up here in the Bahamas. So it became a particularly important anti-submarine staging base, and what led on to obviously become AUTEC, set up in the 1960s and since. But it was also an incredibly important aircraft staging base and training base. I had read a staggering figure that during the Second World War, 25% of people who lived in New Providence were from the RAF or from the Allied crews. 25% of the people on the island had come here just for that short period. And it wasn't just Brits, of course, it was Canadians, it was South Africans in particular came here to train. The Bahamas really became a hub of the Allied effort for the RAF. The Windsor Field and Oakesfield Airport have become what is now Findlay Airport today, providing that infrastructure. I've only been here 3 months, so forgive me, but in my 3 months, I have already met so many war heroes from World War II, Bahamian war heroes. And I wanted to tell the story of 3, if I could, in particular. The 2 of whom were introduced to me actually by the Royal Canadian Legion based here at British Legion. First, let me talk about Ruth Clark Goodrich, one of the Brave 11, who are a group I hadn't heard of before I come to the Bahamas, but whose story and whose book was given to me is an incredible story, really, about people much younger than probably all of us. The youngest was 18, the oldest was 21, I think. Forgive me if you're still the age that you count. You're right. My mum still says she's 27, and she's definitely not. But she was Ruth Clark Goodrich was one of 11 who went across to Jamaica to sign up for the Auxiliary Territorial Service, which was a similar service to what Her Majesty served in, indeed, in the UK. She went to Kingston. Some of the Brave 11 then went on to England, and where she served again as an Allied effort on Jamaica. Ruth, in this book, remarks that she thought it was funny that the Bahamians were always selected for church duty. And she thought that because they were definitely the best dressed, if not the best at marching. But she said wherever the Bahamians went, they were always selected to serve at the front of church. But Ruth, of course, having served admirably during the war, and then when V-Day came, Victory Day, she came back to be a teacher and a principal, and was eventually awarded a British Empire Medal by the Queen for her service during the war and after the war. Fantastic. I met her, met Ruth's 2 daughters a couple of weeks ago, and they were very proud to tell the story, and kind of rightly so. The next story I kind of wanted to acknowledge was that of Basil Johnson, the Black Prince of Grantstown, which is another incredible story, which I didn't know before I got here, but has rightly been given him the name of Black Prince. Princes, however they're drawn by Disney, and not enough of them are coloured or black. They're always handsome, but Basil Johnson, I think, rightly kind of wears the crown, the adopted crown of Prince of Grantstown. He was an engineer by training. But when he came back, he worked for the Bahamas Electrical Corporation. Thank you. So he was a skilled man, well trained, and he signed up for the RAF and was taken to England to train. But he was put on as an engineer, as a mechanic on the airfield, and he protested and said, "I haven't come all this way to stay on the airfield." So he argued and petitioned until they finally accepted him as aircrew, as a pilot, and which I think is fantastic in its own right. But he went on to then fly Pathfinder in the Pathfinder unit. And the Pathfinders were part of the bombing team that went across to Germany in particular. And the Pathfinders went first, flew low, and they were the ones that absorbed so much of the enemy fire and flak, in order to throw down flares so that the bombers coming behind them could stay higher and therefore drop their bombs on the German enemy. I think of the 60, I think I've got this stat right, of the 65 Pathfinder crews, only 3 survived the war. And Basil Johnson was one of those 3 crews. So he was an incredibly high-risk regiment unit, incredibly brave to be part of that. And the fact that he had been given the opportunity to stay safer on an airbase, but wanted to commit himself to the front line, I think really does make it incredibly heroic. My grandfather was a tail gunner in one of these planes. So he sat at the back of the plane with his tail gun. I often wonder whether my grandfather, Norman Curtis, and Basil Johnson would have met. It would have been a funny coincidence. And finally, let me talk about Air Crewman Pinder, who, thank God, is still with us. He's one of 3 Bahamian veterans who is still alive. There's only one on New Providence. The other 2 are, I think one might be on Cat Island actually, and one on Long Island. And he served during the Second World War as an air crewman here in the Bahamas. After the war, he then went on to serve the police. He went on to serve in the police, and I love the fact that he hadn't had enough public service during the Second World War, that he wanted to commit himself to public service after the Second World War as well. But during that time, he met Her Majesty the Queen during one of her visits to the Bahamas, and he told me a story about, with a wink and a nudge, how they got along quite well. And when Her Majesty the Queen died, and we had the condolence book at the High Commission, I felt it's important to allow veterans like Mr. Pinder to sign the book. So he wasn't able to travel, so we closed the book for half a day. And I took the book to his house as an opportunity, and it was a fantastic opportunity to meet him. And I was incredibly humbled because I live a life of privilege in many ways, but to go to his house and for him to meet, but also then serve me food and give incredible hospitality, a man who was significantly older than I was very humbled and taken aback. And he is now blind, as is his age. But despite that, how vivid he was with his stories helped me see a hope from a generation very much cut from the same cloth as Her Majesty, as someone who had committed themselves to service for their whole life. I thought it was incredibly powerful. All heroes, of course. I'm going to finish with just one more chapter, but what I'd be greatly encouraged for any of you who know more bits of this jigsaw puzzle as I begin to learn about the Bahamas in the Second World War, that when we get a moment of questions in a minute, perhaps you would be willing to not just ask questions, but help tell me as well some of your stories. I would find that helpful, but also in the spirit of remembrance. That's exactly the point, as we remembered. Although Mr. Pinder is still strong and still goes, so many of our war heroes have passed, and there's an organisation called the Commonwealth War Graves, which maintains war graves around the world. And there is one nearby here on Maxwell Lane in Chippenham. And if you get a chance to drive by, you must step in because it is an incredibly well kept graveyard, which even in that honours the dead who served us. Above the door and above the gateway as you enter, it says, engraved in the wood, it says, "To the glory of God and in memory of those who gave their lives for the common good." But I saw that, it was humble, but also made me think of this. If it said, "To the glory of God in memory of those who gave themselves for the Commonwealth," it would have said the same thing. And of course, that is the underpinning of the Commonwealth is that we commit ourselves to the common good. And so the war graves in Maxwell Lane is where the records of the Bahamians who died during the Second World War are kept, mostly as RAF driven and volunteers, but also as Marines, as infantrymen. It also records the names of 100 or so British, Canadian, and South African and Bahamian officers and soldiers who died here during the war. So it records the Bahamians overseas, but also those who died while serving here. And there's 100 or so names on the wall for those people that were lost, and their remains never found. And within the graveyard, there's 51 gravestones for those who have been buried there. I visited by chance. I visited just after it happened to be on the right streets at the right time, and I went in and I found it incredibly hard to realise that the gravestones, many of the people in the gravestones were of an age to be my son and to be my child. And I've just come of age where that now the point where I look back at some of these children I'm playing, they could be my children. And as we entered such a difficult period again on the Eastern Europe, it's a reflection that we're all sure we're all having about what the next few years look like. And one of the gravestones for Officer Foreman, who died at the age of 28, says this. This is from his parents. "Sleep on, dear son, and take thy rest. God taketh those he loves best." And I stood there and read this, and I'm not ashamed to say that I was very moved reading that and reading the sadness that a parent would have had leaving that for someone who has committed themselves to a war which must have felt so far away during that time. But remember, it's such an important time of year for that reason, because these stories don't get told unless we have an opportunity to stop and to remember each other. My freedom, I inherited for free, but it was bought with many lives and with much blood. And wearing a poppy and pausing for 2 minutes is just one of the few things that I can do on Remembrance Day in order to mark that. And at the war graves here, there's a second verse from Lawrence Binyon's poem, which I started at the beginning, which I hadn't read before. And I'm going to close by reading this. For the fallen. With proud thanksgiving, a mother for her children, we mourn for the dead across the sea. Flesh of her flesh they were, spirit of her spirit, fallen in the cause of the free. Thank you very much.
I learned a lot from it as well, and it is wonderful to be able to take time out to remember those that served and have caused us to be who are here, where we are today. But we will have the official thank you shortly. But are there any questions here in person or on the call of Zoom?
Question. Just curious, we talked about Mr. Pinder, the house you visited.
Yeah,
What's his first name?
I want to call him Albert, but I got before I put down air crewman in my head, and I put a Pinder in my head, but I think it's Albert, but I will double check that.
Thank you.
Do you know? No. Are you a Pinder?
No.
Okay. And the question, which is a good one that challenges me as well, what was air crewman Pinder's first name? And I remember it's Albert, but I will double check that one.
Sorry, Stephen, you don't have any stories?
What are some of the things you think that we can do now? I suppose to promote or to give further education to the dead or to Remembrance Day here in the Bahamas. Your experience.
It's a good question. Let me say right out the bat, I haven't been here. So the question for those, those on Zoom is, what can the Bahamas do in order to promote and remember Remembrance Day? Let me start by saying that having not been here long enough, I'm not probably a best judge. When Her Majesty died, I was incredibly impressed by how the Bahamas marked that with such dignity and with pride. I'm on a WhatsApp group with all the heads of mission around the world, the British heads of mission. And they're all sending their pictures in of what's happening. But I thought the proclamation in Parliament Square with the police and military parade and then the 21-gun salute was incredible. I thought that was incredibly fitting, which is what it should be. And then the church service a few weeks ago, again, with the large parade all the way through town. I'm confident actually that on Remembrance Sunday on the 13th of November, it's the Bahamas will mark it in exactly the way that one would hope they would. But I think I'd be interested to know whether the stories of Ruth of the Brave 11 and Basil, the Black Prince, and of Albert Pinder, whether those are stories known to you already, and maybe there's something more we must be doing in schools in order to be sharing this history and passing it on. As Mr. Pinder becomes one of the last 3 veterans still alive, there will be a time in not too distant future where he will rely on us to tell his story, because he won't be here to tell his story himself. And I think we will have that responsibility to do.
I just share my stories about remembrance. I grew up in so I like to tell my stories about remembrance. In that I grew up in Boys Brigade from a very young age, from the age of 5 years old. My mother put me in Boys Brigade, and as far as I can remember and recall, Remembrance Day was always our biggest day. Part of Boys Brigade, my sisters wore brownies, if you all remember brownies, and Girl Sky. So we always in the Bahamas celebrated Remembrance Day in a big way, particularly among the youths. And as I grew older, joined the Boys Brigade band. That was our biggest parade. And everyone came out, lined the streets, marched on the streets. And I mean, Bahamians really showed an appreciation for Remembrance Day. And then when I joined the police force, of course, that was one of the natural things that we did as police officers. And Mrs. here, and that is part of the remembrance that we do in order to remember those ones who would have paid such a price. So it's one of our most celebrated memorial service here in the Bahamas. You know, from the Prime Minister, Governor General down, let me put it that way. Everyone comes out. During COVID was the only time that parade was never held in my lifetime. All right, during COVID. And I think we started it in earnest last year. And of course, this year, 2022, I'm quite sure you'll see the Bahamas out in full and fine form with all of the youth organizations and all of the other organizations that will show support for Remembrance Day. It's a wreath laying ceremony at the Gardens of Remembrance, and so we all just proud of that. And British High, I too was astonished by the information provided. Very, very good information. You did your homework. You really investigated and so forth. And you actually went to the people who are now alive to tell the story. So I'm truly, truly happy and proud of you. And so I say kudos to you for doing such a good job and bringing us all up to date and causing us to remember the ultimate sacrifice that these fine ladies and gentlemen would have done for our country. So that's my say on that. Thanks so much.
Just please, sir.
Okay, what I want to find out in the UK, I mean, country, what, other than we recognize these places here on Remembrance Day, what benefits that pass from the government, benefits that these places have during a lifetime to pass of war veterans, are they entitled to, I think the entitlement or benefits that they get? You are aware of?
Good question. So for the people on Zoom, the question is, what benefits do veterans continue to receive after serving?
Yes.
Beyond the pension and everything else and the honour. It's not enough, I think is the right answer. Right. When I was serving in Ghana before here, I was part of a pilot project. The organisation is the Royal Commonwealth EL, I forget the E, something League. And they were part of a UK funded project globally to financially support the widows of those who were dying. So the veterans themselves supported, but this project was to actually support the widows of whom and widows, both male and female, of course, who also carry such a terrible burden. My little brother's in the army and he's not married, but when he is like his spouse will bear the burden of having to be the person who has to absorb his emotions and his stress and his experience. And so rightly the widows are supported that way. That RCEL project in Ghana has been rolled out globally. I haven't met yet. I've been long enough to meet the Bahamian kind of leg of that, but I'll make sure I do. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, I think that generally, I mean, you said that's a program what they do, but I mean, it's nothing, they get a pension.
And so this is what that project was, right, a pension to the widows, yeah.
The pension, okay. So the veterans, while they're still alive?
I think so. So I think that's what the role of the British Legion or the Canadian Legion provide, is to provide that financial support. And that's why the donations for the puppies are important, because that's what they go towards.
Any others? What about benefits? Piggybacking on the question before. What about benefits? For instance, in the United States, once you serve in the army, there are 6 benefits. They have some of the benefits.
I think the question is kind of what benefits are available to soldiers and sailors and all these other service Marines. There are some, I would have to go to my list. But for example, with discounts in shops or continued public recognition, or there's something called the military covenant, which is kind of modelled on learning from the US in the last 5 to 10 years. And the idea is that how do we as a country continue to have a covenant with those who serve and who have served, to encourage them to do so. It is please tell me to be quiet as well if you're running out of time. You've been so efficient with your timing so far, but the Brits are right. Obviously for the UK, our role in World War I, World War II was significant because our relationship with the Empire, which came with the Commonwealth, and we kind of the last line standing in Europe in both those situations. But it's not the last war that was fought. You know, it was huge numbers. Lots of the UK learning recently has been about Iraq, Afghanistan, but a lot of the difficult learning has come from Northern Ireland, in fact, from learning to police our own people and indeed the military to do the role of the police and getting it wrong so many times and learning to get it right quickly as well. There's so much of that which is now currently in the news because of the political class moving the goals perhaps that the military class that was right. We hosted a dinner a couple of nights ago for Trafalgar Day. Trafalgar Day is the anniversary in 1805 when the British fleet defeated the French and Spanish fleets that were preparing to invade England in 1805. And at this dinner, Minister Wayne Munro, came along, and he gave one of the remarks. And there's a famous poem called "The Charge of the Light Brigade," and the Light Brigade being the light cavalry, and in Turkey, how they were sent to their death because that's what their orders were. And there's a famous line, and it goes, "Theirs was not the reason why; theirs was to do and die." And it's the idea of a soldier that you're told, and then your job is to go and do. But he said this and said, theirs is not the reason why. That's my job as minister. And I think in the context of Haiti and what Bahamas will do to commit its, your sons and daughters to peace in the region, I think these things weigh heavily on the political class to make sure those decisions are taken correctly. We all hold that decision in our hand, and that's a tough job when you're the minister and you're the elected official whose job is to do that. It's not an easy thing to do. I remember as a young boy, I used to feel these things were follies, things that were really exciting. But now I'm here with my brothers over there, it feels much less exciting. But I was really taken back by Minister Monroe's pivot on that speech. And we'll see.
Okay, sorry, this is the last one.
Great.
Like this every time. So this is by way of information for you. It would be good for the British High Commissioner to contact Jim Lawler or Andrea Major at the Historical Society on Elizabeth Avenue.
Great.
It used to be called the Imperial Order of the Daughters of the Empire. They have information and may know of others who fought and who are still alive.
Fantastic. 100% will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Perhaps you give me that in a message so I can make that down. So, and I'm lucky enough to be married to a lovely lady who really loves history and loves museums, and is currently working with doing studies and wanting to work with ALMC on this. But she was telling me a story about a World War II bomber that was discovered not very far from here, hundreds of meters off the shore, and how the components, the seats and the computers and the propellers and the wing were recovered and donated to the AMMC. And again, it kind of it'd be exciting, not exciting is the wrong word, it'll be important to find these things, I think, and to learn about them. So to talk to the Daughters of the Empire, was it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Daughters of the Empire, yes.
Bahamas Historical Society.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, if you go online, you can go to their website.
Okay.
I do their website.
I do. Another point. Well,
thank you.
Thank you all for having me. I would, as I said, would love to learn more. And thank you for inviting me along. It's great.
Okay. Cheers. And now coming to do the official thank you is, let me see if I get this right. As Rotary Image Public Chair.
Close,
Public Image.
Don't worry.
If you had been coordinator, she would have said chair.
Oh my God. It's a bit like a millstone hanging around. Something like that. Anyway, High Commissioner, thank you so much for talking to us today. I think all of us were really impressed by how much depth you went to find out about the Bahamas and the war, and you know what we contributed as a nation to not just World War II, which you focused on, but I do want to draw your attention to the Gallant 30 from World War I. I don't know if you learned about them. There were 30 people who were the first to volunteer to take part in World War I, and only 3 of them came back. And one of them, I guess luckily for me, was my grandfather-in-law, who originally had been put in the Tribune as having died in action. And then they found him in a hospital, and he came back and he said he's going to be one of the few people they'll pronounce dead twice. Also, luckily, he went on to become the colonial secretary in the Bahamas. So anyway, I do recommend that you do that. Please get in touch with the Bahamas Historical Society. They actually have a good display there about the war.
Okay.
And anyway, thank you so much. I think we really enjoyed it. I think we learned as well.
Yes.
So we were learning along with you. Anyway, in the interim, we'd like to give you a guest speaker, Mark.
Sorry, go on.
I'll drink your tea or whatever. And remember us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, we couldn't let you go empty-handed. Owen, so, you know, all of this is going on. Owen has been collecting.
Thanks, sir.
So you can bring this so like we can make sure I put that in the thing here.
That's very generous.
So when Stephen let him go. I'm not gonna count it, but it's definitely more than 1 and more than 10, so. Yes, so you go ahead, put that there, get it in. Need to do the next photo.
That's really kind. Thank you so much. I
There
appreciate
you
this.
go. Yeah. Got it. All right, good. There you go. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you for meeting back. Next is back to our Sergeant of Arms, Rotarian Wayne, who will be, I guess, speaking on fines and raffles. And then that will be followed by the 4-way test, Rotary Toast by Rotarian Francino. And afterwards, our president will adjourn. And if anyone has any other further questions, we do have a parking lot for any further questions to the High Commission.
Good. Okay, thank you so much, Rotarian Anita. As we get ready for the raffle, Rotarian Owen is moving around. We just want to say thank you so much again. Now, you know, our Rotary Club move on fines, and so those of you who do not have your pins on, that's a fine. Rotarian Kino, I don't see no pin from here. You have a pin? Let me see that pin. Everyone have the pin on, Rotarian Sandra, pin? Vice President, Stephen D. pin?
No. Yes.
Madam President, does the polio count?
Well, I will overrule.
Okay, half a fine. Okay, half a fine. And then we also have a fine too, for those who don't have the puppy. After the British High said that beautiful speech, you should have run and bought the puppy. I mean, after he gave that beautiful speech, he run a ball in the back of Maxwell Lane and all over the place in the graveyard looking for everybody who died as a baby. Man, you should buy a puppy. So let's take a note. Those who don't have their puppies on, that's a fine. Please bring your fine forward. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we do have a winner, according to Rotarian Owen. We have a winner. Now, give me a little piece of ticket. Yeah, a little piece. So that means, of course, sorry for those of you who are online, you cannot join and participate, and you cannot win. If you don't play, you don't win. So the ticket number is 019. Are we all still here?
Oh, come on, man.
I gotta check, you know? Okay, 019, we're here then. 02. Are some of us here?
No.
Oh, some left. And the final number, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this lovely prize here, what is this?
Panama rum.
Panama rum.
Oh, yes, please, I'm sure I have that number.
The winner is number 8. Shabbat, our guest, our being a very faithful guest, Shabbat Rule has been the winner of our prize. Having been a faithful guest, Madam President, do you want to present this gift to Shabbat, please?
Are we gonna have a photo?
Larry, is he come up with it?
Go ahead, Francina.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. Please stand and join me in saying the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun?
Fun.
Yes, it will. Continue standing for the Rotary toast. To all Rotarians and guests Zooming with us on air, and those Rotarians and guests who are here, let us join with Rotarians everywhere in the toast to Rotary all over the world. Rotary all over the world.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. Thank you so much for your attendance today. Happy to get that information. I learned a lot today myself. I will also look into that. What is it? Imperial Order of the Daughters. We will look into that also, Bahamas Historical Society, to get more information. I'm happy to make a small donation, but we'll continue to work this, but thank you all so much. And of course, on Remembrance Day, make sure you do wear your coffee and make sure you do participate in all of the events that will be happening, because I'm sure all of us have some relative or affected. So thank you all very much and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So Sergeant, would you like me to do it today? We are adjourned. All right, we're gonna take a quick group photo, please. Especially since this is your first Rotary meeting. Yes, we have to take the photo.